And we're back. Welcome back to the fourth video in our Flappy Fish tutorial. In this episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to make the pipes, the pipe gates that you have to jump through. We're going to make those appear and fly to the left of the screen, and that's what you jump through. But we're not going to make them pipes. We're going to make them coral because I drew coral. So you know, he's a fish. He's jumping through coral. So we're going to make those. They'll fly to the left, and then once they get too far to the left, they'll delete. And we'll make new ones, and then that can just keep happening, and we'll move them up and down as well. We might do a few other things if we get the time. So the way that we do that, first things first, we'll create an empty object. We'll give it the name. I'm going to call this Coral Gate, because it's sort of what it is. Make sure that it's all it's all set to 0, 0. And then what we want to do is drag these objects out of the assets that I've made. We've got some coral top and bottom here. I'm going to chuck top one on there and bottom one also on there. When you drag them on there, you'll notice that they sort of get attached. What that means is now if you drag this object around, they'll follow it, which is super handy. You'll be using that a lot as you make games in the future. What we need to do now is drag this part, grab the top one and just drag that up a bit. Maybe even just set it to about 6.5. Actually, we'll make them a bit bigger. They're really small at the moment. You'll notice the pipes in Flappy Bird are really big, which makes them hard to jump over. So we'll make these a bit bigger for now, and we'll see what that looks like. So maybe like 12 and minus 12. Nah, maybe minus 13 and then 13. That looks pretty good. We'll see if this works. That's pretty close. Maybe we can even go 12.5 minus 12.5. That's much better. Alright, cool. That looks really, difficult. We want it to be difficult, not too difficult, but if you remember Flappy Bird, it was really hard. So what we need to do is add a box collider to these two. So if you hold control, you can click multiple objects at a time. We just want to select the top and bottom and go add component, box collider 2D. You'll see it's got the green boxes that appear. If we use this X size thing, this variable, if you click and drag that, we can make it a bit smaller, which is, that's what I'm going to do. And then if we grab the Y one, it also makes them a bit smaller as well, which is, that's pretty good, I think. We want it to be sort of difficult, but sort of accurate to the coral as well. We also need to tag these as solid, just so that when you hit them, the game remembers, oh, I've hit the coral, it's game over. If we also say, we need a thing in the middle, called a trigger, and when you collide with a trigger, we'll say you've gained a point for going through the gate, and then we'll delete it and do some other things. So we'll call this goal. So right click on Coral Gate and go create empty and give it the name goal. We want to give it a tag. Make this tag, make a new tag, and we'll call this goal, just so that the game knows when you hit it, you've hit a goal, you get a point. We'll also add a component, add a box collider, and make sure to tick this box is trigger, make sure that's ticked. And then change the size, the Y size, change that to, you can see it over here getting bigger, make it about 8. And we also want to move it a little bit to the front like that, just so that you get the point only once you've gone through the goal, definitely. That looks pretty good to me. We also need to make a script that makes it travel across the screen as you hit it. Oh, it's also sitting in front of the ground. We want to change that by, I think we make these, if you click the top and bottom, set their Z to 2, that's better. It just appears in the background now. It pushes them into the background. So we'll make our script. We'll make a quick little script that just moves them to the left while the game's running. So right click in the assets folder and go new C# script, and I'm going to call this Coral Mover. You can press enter to open it up. And in here what we want to say is, under update, if game manager dot instance dot game running transform with a lowercase t dot position plus equals new vector 3 minus minus 0.075 f 0, 0, oh yeah, like that. And what we want to say also is if transform dot position dot x is less than minus 20 dot 0 f, what we get is we'll destroy this dot game object. So what that means is once the coral moves far enough to the left, you'll see its x position changing up here. When you move that far enough to the left, it'll get lower than minus 20 and it'll delete. And we're going to spawn it at 20 as well, so it moves just the length of the level and then disappears. We'll make a new one, which is nice. I think that's it. We would need to move that script that we just made, we need to drag that onto the coral gate itself. Now notice if we run the game, that should work. Even when we hit the coral, we even die, which is good. So now that we've made that coral gate, grab that object and drag it down to the assets folder, and you'll notice it appears as a blue cube. That means we've made a prefab of it, and we can use that. We can get the game manager to keep making them while the game's running. So what we're going to do is delete the one that we made, because otherwise it would start in the middle of the level. We'll go and put that script, and put some code in our game manager script. First of all, the object that we made, we need to have a reference to that in the game manager. So we'll go down to where our variables are, and we'll add a new game object. We'll call this coral with a lowercase c prefab. We'll save that. In fact, while we're here, we'll also make a public int and call it score. And we'll use that later on for when you get goals for going through the score. You get a score for going through the goals. We'll scroll down to where it says game running equals true, where we start up our game. When you press the spacebar, we'll make a new line and say game object current coral gate equals instantiate coral prefab, comma, I want to say new vector 3. I want this to be minus 20. We want the coral to move, we want it to appear up and down randomly. So what we'll say is random dot range. I think maybe minus 2, at least minus 2 down and maybe 8 up. We'll see if that looks alright. And then go comma 0, close your brackets. Yeah. And then we'll say comma transform, but you want that you want it to have a lowercase t. And we'll say transform dot rotation. Sorry, this is getting a bit hard to see here. Transform dot rotation, then close your brackets. So you should have instantiate coral prefab in brackets new vector 3. Make sure that part's all spelled correctly and you've got the right amount of brackets. I've got too many brackets, I think that's what's going on. No? Yeah, no, that's correct. Alright. Make sure that you've got that as that looks there. And then finally transform.rotation, close your brackets, and then say as game object, semicolon. And it should, if any of that turns red, something's wrong. Make sure that it's all spelt correctly and you've got enough commas and brackets and a semicolon at the end. It's a bit of a complicated line. Now I want to say I've got this line of code in the wrong place actually. Hold on. If you just highlight that line, highlight that whole line there and right click and go cut, because we put it in the wrong spot. We do need it. Find the last bracket, and just go to the end of the bracket above that, and make a bit of space, and we'll say void make coral gate, and put some brackets in, and that's where you would paste that line. And that's a bit better. I think here what we wanted to say was invoke repeating, because otherwise the game would have only made one gate and then nothing else, but we want it to keep happening. So what we'll say here is invoke repeating, make coral gate. We want it to happen after 3 seconds, and then every 3 seconds after that as well. So every 3 seconds we're going to get a new coral gate. Let's see if that works first of all. We've got an error. Repeating string. I see. When you type in make coral gate, make sure that's got talking marks around it, so that it knows that we're talking about this event here. Now if we run that, after 3 seconds it should make a gate, but it doesn't. I know what's going on. So the game manager, that script that we made, the coral prefab, just like we did with the fish controls and the texture offset, we have to drag this prefab into that slot. Now that's filled in, that should work. In a few seconds. I think, yeah, whoops, I told you to create that at 20, minus 20. We want it to be at 20. My bad. There we go, that's better. Now this should be, oh man, that's a really, really tight fit. Careful. Okay. Nice. I think the coral is appearing kind of a little bit too high. I think maybe if I change that to a 6 as well, just so it doesn't appear too high. We could also make that appear a bit lower as well. Besides that, I think that's working pretty well. Nice. Alright, cool. We are very close to the end. We've got to add in, we'll make it so that we can get some points, and we'll draw the points on the screen. And maybe we'll make a few special effects just to make our game look a bit nicer, because it's a bit drab at the moment. Yeah, we'll do that in the next episode.